What is up, cool cats of the interwebs? It is your girl Haley back at it again with another episode of the pre-review crew for November and December 2022. Now, as always, let me introduce my favorite guys to you guys. So we have Brennan
Yo.
and we have Mike.
What's up?
Mike is currently sick, so if you hear anything, it's that time of year. But it's also that time of year to review some great games as well. Let's kick it into October because if you remember, we talked about Bayonetta, and at the time of our last recording, the reviews were not out yet. So, to give you a little recap, we talked about Bayonetta 3. It's an action-adventure hack-and-slash game. It's developed by Platinum Games and published by Nintendo. It came out, of course, exclusively on the Switch on October 28th. It has a 86 top critic average and an 88% of critics recommending.
Yeah, it performed about what I thought it would. Um, like I played it, I got it. It's an amazing game. It's probably one of my contenders for game of the year right now. I got to see, well, Pokemon. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, it was just one of the best games I've played in a while. And I love Bayonetta. So I thought I was gonna get this score just because Bayonetta is kind of not, very big. People know who she is now because of Smash Brothers, but her games are still kind of niche in a way.
Mm. Yeah, I'm not really surprised. Um, yeah. So like you've played it, and what's holding it back from being like perfect 10 out of 10?
I don't know because I would have given it a higher score than what everybody's giving it.
Uh,
Yeah, because it was
I,
just to me it's like one of the best games I've played in a while since like Elden Ring or something.
I mean, just like flipping through, briefly, I'm seeing like obviously like a lot of like nines and tens, but then you just have people who yeah, well, there's Game Luster. Cameo.
Hi, guys.
You have people who I don't know are giving like sevens, and it's like I guess it's just those are probably some of the reviewers that just maybe just don't quite appreciate it as much, um, or they're just like out of the niche demographic that Bayonetta I feel like has.
Um, Honestly, this doesn't surprise me. I've heard some people be disappointed in it, not necessarily because of the story, but because they're having issues just running it on the Nintendo Switch. And that seems to be a common thread throughout some of Nintendo Switch's recent games. Um,
Hmm.
will I play it? Probably, maybe, eventually. Bayonetta is Bay, of course. But
Hell yeah.
I don't know. It's like one of those games that I pick up when I'm just like, I want something that I can just mindlessly play and just kill things and run through and not really have to put a lot of thought into.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, it's Bayonetta. I feel like it definitely performed where we expected it to perform. Um, but hopefully they come out with another one or they do something new. I'd like to see them change it up. Speaking about
Yeah.
changing it up.
Oh.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, especially after how good 3 was, I really do hope that they do something else with Bayonetta, just because, like I said, this game just blew me away.
It might take a couple years, but that is okay. We have other games that can fill the time and space. while you wait for Bayonetta 4. One of these games could potentially be Harvestella, or not, because honestly it didn't do too well. To rehash, it is a single player role playing life simulation game. It is published or developed by Square Enix and Livewire, and then published by, of course, Square Enix. It came out on the Switch and PC on November 4th. It has a top critic average of 74, and 58% of critics recommending it. Honestly, from what Brendan has said, that is not surprising.
Yeah, I feel like this pretty much it's pretty much hit right where I was thinking. And like and the people that do enjoy it though, I mean, they seem to understand that it's like not, that it's like very farming light and like they're cool with it because this is more of an RPG with like farming light elements. So I feel like the people that do, give Harvestella a higher score kind of like not only understand that, but kind of, they weren't really looking for a farm sim experience, exclusively. They're fine that they're fine with the fact that it's like tacked on, but I don't know. A lot of people are just saying that it's like it's neat that it's there, but like the story and the characters are really cool, and it's like, yeah, no, I don't. That's that just wasn't my experience. But then again, I'm also going into it with you know expectations of it being more of a farming game than I thought. But again, that's not to say that people won't like it. Um, Seeing a lot of decently high scores, but then on the flip side, I'm just seeing a lot of people kind of echo my comment of like, yeah, this isn't really what I thought it was. My fault, It's like, I guess, oops. So whatever. Oops. Maybe they'll. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if I want Square to touch a farming game, farm sim, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, after what Brennan said last time, I actually thought this was gonna do worse.
Thought it was gonna do worse. Yeah, I mean, fair. Like it's not that it wasn't a good experience. Like I feel kind of bad that I like made it seem like it was bad overall. It just wasn't my cup of tea personally. And again, that's only because I kind of went into it thinking it was one thing, and then you know I
Well,
thought
I
it was the
mean,
main dish.
you have a game literally called Harvestella. And when I think of that, I think, oh, okay, this is going to be similar to Stardew Valley. It's going to be about farming. And no, it isn't. A little bit of it's farming, but it's mainly something else. Like, it throws players off, especially like me. Like, I was so excited because I was like, oh, this is gonna be like a Final Fantasy Stardew Valley. Like, this is gonna be so cool. And then it's not necessarily that. And so I think the marketing could have been a little better as to what this specifically was. Because I feel like with everything I saw, it definitely advertised it in a way that made me think it is something that it is not.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, and I feel like that was definitely um, on display during that like first initial Nintendo Direct trailer, when that was first released, and it was all like, wow, that's I feel like the trailer that sticks out in most people's minds, and I feel like that trailer specifically was leaning towards that, like, this is like a farming game, but I don't think that they really. I just don't think it was as big enough of a mechanic to really do anything. It feels like they half-assed JRPG and then they half-assed farming sim and threw both of them together, and it's like a mediocre game. You know what I mean? Like it just kind of sucks. Kind of wish they just kind of stuck with one. Don't half-ass two things.
Took two popular things and mashed them together, and it no,
Yeah, if
it
you're
was just half baked.
I'm about to say, if you're gonna half-ass, both of them, just do one, to make it good.
Yeah, right. Like, and I feel like if they had made it a farming sim, then made it, gave it like the Final Fantasy paint job, would have been fine. I think it would have been great. Like, because the game look like, let's be real, the game looks, and if I remember correctly, the soundtrack was pretty good too. The voice acting was there was barely any in the demo that I played, so I can't speak on that. But it looked amazing, like, and even just like the style and the art direction, like all of it was pretty cool. Just sucks that it was just kind of wasted on a package that doesn't really come together. You know, just kind of sucks.
Well,
Shame, damn shame.
let's talk about a game that, of course, did not suck.
Says you.
Do not. Anyway, we are going to talk about God of War Ragnarok. Ooh, I have so much to say. It is a single player action adventure hack and slash. It is developed by Santa Monica Studio and published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. It came out on the PS4 and PS5 on November 9th. It has an top critic average of 94. Hello, with 98% of critics recommending it. Those 2% I had to
Highs.
count. The 2% of critics that don't recommend it, I do not know what you are thinking, but I
Is it?
respect your personal opinion. Let me break it down. I cried. I'm not even done with the game yet. I've cried multiple times. This game is a journey. It is an experience. And if you could relate in any aspect to Kratos and Atreus's story in the beginning, you can really relate now because Atreus is a growing teenager. I'll try not to spoil anything, but he's in that phase where he's rebellious and he thinks that he knows what's best, at least for him, and he's trying to do right by the people around him, even though he doesn't fully grasp the concept of what is going on. And he doesn't want to let anybody down, but he also wants to prove to everybody, like, hey, I'm not just a kid. I've gone through shit. I can do this. So, very much how Kratos was bearing the brunt of the weight in the first game and sort of carrying Atreus along this journey. And the first game was very much about Kratos growing into the role of being a father. This is very much Atreus growing into his role of being a son and sort of realizing that his dad has gone through a lot of things and thinking that he now has to shoulder the weight that his dad has carried all of his life and not realizing that everything his dad has done for him has been to sort of teach him how to just live and be a person eventually when his dad isn't there anymore. And I think that their lack of communication and their headbutting 100% gets in the way, but you have that when you're a teenager with your parent. So it's a fantastic, like I said, I'm not finished with it. Um but what I've seen so far is a fantastic story of Atreus growing up and just being a teenager and learning that the real world fucking sucks and people are deceitful and they are liars, and it's just navigating your way through that while also wanting to not be under the thumb of your parent all the time, and Kratos realizing, like, hey, my son's getting older. I have to let him explore the world. I can't, like, keep him safe. And I can't be a helicopter parent forever. Because I'm not going to be there forever. It's fantastic. Ugh, I want to go play more of it. I love it so much. So
Um, yeah, I would have been disappointed if it didn't do this good. Um, it's fucking God of War. Of course, it's gonna do well. Um, I don't know. I haven't played the one before this, the reboot. But that the reboot came to PC, so I'll probably wait for this to come to PC.
I feel like it's definitely going to be some time till it comes to PC, but honestly, you're not like it's their story is one that should be traveled sort of at your own pace. So if you're going to wait, like it's perfectly fine waiting. I think this game and like part 1 and Ragnarok, I think they will age gracefully throughout the years. I definitely think that they will be video games that we talk about for years to come with how visually um gorgeous they are, how deep the story and the voice acting is. Like I think this game, and I think this has already won one or two game of the years if I'm not mistaken, but I think this game is going to sweep through game of the year awards. And I'm not shitting on Elden Ring. Elden Ring is just not my type of game, but I watched gameplay of Elden Ring and it was good. But I think God of War is better.
And that's going to be the big debate at the end of this year. Because, like you said, God of War's already got Game of the Year award, but Elden Ring has too. Um, so I think those two are going to be the games that are really going to battle it out at the end of this year for Game of the Year. Call of Duty had the opportunity to do that, but it's marred down by performance issues. Um, but I think this is going to be one of the big two that we're going to really see compete when it comes down to Game of the Year this year.
Brendan, do you have anything to say?
Not much other than I'm glad that it performed well. You know, um, that's really it. I've yet to get into God of War, but one of these days when I do sit down and play the first game, it's like I'm just kind of happy to know that not only do I have one extremely good game of the year quality game, but now I have two. You know, so yeah.
I will say I did pick up my box set. Um, it's massive. I got the hammer and dice and little tokens, and I stare at the hammer, and I'm just like, where the fuck am I gonna put you? It's currently on my shelf. So Ziva doesn't think that it's a dog toy. But yeah, all in all, this it performed great. It definitely was in line with where we said it was going to be. Um, I don't think there's anything that they could have done to make it better because the formula that they already had from the 2018 game is definitely carried over into this. You do get some new things, some things look a little different, but the game still looks and feels very similar to the 2018 game. Um, a whole bunch of new characters, which is really cool. Um, do we care about spoilers? I don't think you guys care about spoilers.
I just mentioned how not only do I have one really good game, but I have two really good games. and that can't happen if you spoil it for
Okay,
me.
I won't spoil it. It was actually a game mechanic that I was going to talk about, but I won't say anything
Do you
now.
want me? You can talk about it if you want me to close my ears, like if it's burning, you know.
Okay, close your ears.
Okay. How are you gonna signal to me when you're done?
Um, I'll send a message in our group chat.
Okay.
Mike, are you closing your ears too?
I really don't care.
Okay, great. So the one thing that I really like about this game that Brennan, are your ears closed? Okay, I'm going to assume they are. The one thing I really like about this game that they did in this game, but they didn't do in the first game, is you now get to play as Atreus, but not only that, you get to play as other characters. Well, you get to play as Atreus, but you get to bring along other characters depending on what section of the game you're in. So, for example, Brock and Sindri will come along with you depending on who you are and where you are. So, for example, Sindri, you're playing as Atreus in one game or one section of the game in Midgard, and Sindri goes along with Atreus and helps him out. You can press the square button and make them hit enemies with like whatever they use. Freya goes to I think it's called Vanguard with Kratos, so you're playing as Kratos, and you get to use Freya as an archer with the same types of arrows that Atreus uses. So that's really neat as well. Like I said, Brock also comes along too, so you can use him. And I just thought that was really cool because in the first game you only get to play as Kratos, and then you only get to command Atreus, but now they've expanded it so you can, depending on what section of the game you're in, you get to bring somebody else along with you. And the dialogue definitely changes up during then, so it's great to like see those other characters develop through the game, through their dialogue, depending on where you are. You just definitely get more of a story with that. So, yeah. Okay, let's message Brennan so he can come back.
Interesting. I was gonna say some stuff, but Brennan's back, so
Oh, you should
Oh,
have told me to wait.
it's
I can go
fine. It's
back.
fine. No, no, no. You guys are good. You guys are good.
But yeah. Anyway, okay. So let's move on, or I will continue to talk about God of War until I literally breathe my last breath. We're now going to talk about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. It's a role playing game. It's developed by Game Freak and published by Nintendo. It came out, of course, again, only on the Switch and dropped November 18th. It has an open critic or top critic average of 77, with 56% of critics recommending. Oh my god, the amount of fucking memes I've seen about this game.
Yeah, this one has me on the fence really hard. I got Violet, um, and it's like it is a fun game for me. I love Pokemon. I'm a fanboy, so of course I'm always gonna fucking like Pokemon. Um, but there are the performance issues that everybody that's giving this like a nine, below a 9 are talking about how there's these crazy performance issues. I haven't ran anything too game breaking, but there was. I don't know if this could be counted as a spoiler, um, but there is a moment where you're in a school and the kids are swinging their legs, underneath the desk as kids do. Um, I thought my game was lagging because of the way the legs move. Like they don't move in a smooth position. They move like the second hand on a watch. And I thought my game was messed up, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on right now?" It was just that's how the game performs at some moments. Is it's just I'm pretty sure Nintendo's working on a patch to fix this, but for now, it's like this has me torn because I want to keep playing because, like I said, it's Pokemon. I enjoyed Pokemon, but at the same time, it's shit like that where I'm just like, dude, like, how could you let that come out in one of your biggest games of the year?
Yeah, that honestly is very concerning. Like I said earlier, I've seen so many memes about this game making fun of its performance issues. And I'm sitting here like who was like, yeah, this is fine. Like this is completely okay. Like let's release this to the general public and everything's fine. Everybody's going to love it because we slap Pokemon on it. Like it's okay. It's cool. We'll figure it out later. Just put it out now, make the money, and then come back to the problem.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like it kind of feels like they should have given it another couple months. Because yeah, and I think part of the performance issues is they didn't optimize it enough for it to be such a big open world game the way that they did with Zelda. Um, Honestly, they should have probably had the team that did Zelda come help out with this. Um, because like RCS had its problems too, but nothing as severe as what we're seeing with Scarlet and Violet.
Question.
So
Oh, go ahead, Brennan.
no. You go. I've got like
Oh,
a
I was just gonna say, do we think that this is a developer issue or a console issue? Like, is
developer.
the okay? Because I was gonna say, is it just them not having the resources, having the time, having just not doing enough, or is it that the Switch is just a lacking console?
It's a developer thing. Like I said, Breath of the Wild has the same size world. Breath of the Wild is actually probably a little bit bigger. But Breath of the Wild runs perfectly. Well, not perfectly, but it runs really well. Whereas you get this game, and that's why I'm kind of like, why didn't they just get the guys who did Breath of the Wild to come into this? Because they could have optimized the game so it wouldn't perform like this.
So like first off on the performance stuff, yeah, I mean, take a look at Breath of the Wild. Um, all of the Xenoblade games. Um, I mean, those are just three big ones that I can think of where they just have like very detailed environments, big, massive, detailed environments that where it just like doesn't run terribly. Um, Especially Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Breath of the Wild, which came out a number of years ago. It's definitely a developer thing. Um, which just it sucks because like it's hard not to be annoyed by it sometimes. Like the pop in is kind of ridiculous. Sometimes you'll just be traveling along the map and something will just pop up and then you're in a battle, similar to the wild areas in Sword and Shield. And I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's it's frustrating. It's like something of this quality. One of the biggest, most profitable franchises on the entire planet should not be dealing with um, frame rate issues. And the whole time I was like, "Where's my PC port? I can't wait until they port this to PC, so it doesn't run like shit, right?" Um, that's yeah, whatever. I don't know if Nintendo makes a patch. I don't even know at this point. I almost wouldn't even bank on that. I don't know. Uh, that being said, though, the game itself, um, the first like 2 hours are like the biggest slog of my entire life. It is just terrible and handholdy, and it's awful. And I just wanted it to be take the training wheels off. As soon as they let you take the training wheels off, though, I found it to be a very enjoyable experience. I enjoyed running around, catching Pokemon all over. I enjoyed going to gyms in different different orders, even though they don't really they're not scaled and there's technically a recommended order, but whatever. I do that in RPGs all the time. Go out of order and do shit, so it's fine. Um, but and without any spoilers, now that I've finished the game, Um, Now that like I've finished, there's like pretty much nothing really to do, in my opinion. Like no, there are no end game goals that satisfy me as a Pokemon player traditionally. Um, and again, I'm trying to say this with as little spoiler as possible, but um, yeah, I've like I finished the game. You know, the whole Elite Four, but there's just like nothing left. You know, and I'm like, eh, I want more. Um, so I think that the beginning and the ending were kind of meh, but everything else is kind of okay. So like, if I had to score this, I would probably just give this like the biggest 7 of all time. You know, because
I agree.
like the ending and the beginning were really slow, but generally speaking, 90% of the game is pretty enjoyable. I like the open world. Um, you know, it's not like your traditional open world checklist. It is, but on a smaller scale. I honestly enjoyed the little stories. I thought they were really cute. Honestly, some of them were really enjoyable. I really like the rival. I know a lot of people are giving her some flack, but it's like no man. I was just like a battle junkie rival. Like I thought that that was about time. I just think that she's cool. Um, more more enjoyable than flop whatever the last guy was, whoever he was. Who was the last one? Who was the rival last
I,
game?
that's just how not memorable he is.
Hop.
I don't remember his name. Yeah, Hop. Okay.
Hop. Yeah. I knew it was something just ridiculous. Flap, flop, hop, whatever. Yeah. Um, yeah, it was terrible. This one, like, at least like she's memorable. Oh yeah, the battle junkie. Oh, that's memorable. The last guy was he's the champion's brother. That's
And
he
that's
just
all
really
he will
is.
ever be.
Essentially, that's all he was. Yeah, the whole game. He gets his ass
Yeah.
kicked by other people.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Overall, this one was okay. Um, I enjoyed it more than like the past couple Pokemon games, but I still just man, we I feel the same way about Pokemon as I do like our climate and the planet right now. Like we could be having flying cars right now and we don't because some asshole in a suit says no. You know what I mean? Like we could be having Pokemon that runs really well, but some guy at Game Freak was like, "No, let's make this run like shit for no reason."
I'm very curious as to why, like, the quality process that Game Freak has, because they're taking the Pokemon name and just making absolute shit with it, and I don't get it. I don't understand. You have this mega franchise, you make millions of dollars, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna put out this half baked thing and everybody's gonna be okay with it. Like, you're not Ubisoft. Stop it. You can't do that. Ubisoft can do that because just because. That's what I expect out of Ubisoft, but a Pokemon game? Really? Like, you're gonna do that with something so legendary? So, like, I wonder what will be the turning point for everybody at Game Freak going, you know what, guys? The games that we have been putting out haven't been that great, and maybe we should actually listen to everybody when they say we should do a little bit more quality control and figure out where we're going wrong. But I feel like by
Well,
that
not
point we're going to have like the Nintendo Switch 3000.
yeah, I mean, not to like drag this out any longer, but I think that like Game Freak intentionally shipped it in this state because you know they kind of like they kind of had to. realistically, if they wanted to, I mean, like, if we look at the calendar, you know, they wanted to put out a game in this time, and honestly, after Arceus, I'm not really like we. I feel like we don't know how long this game was in development for. I'm going to bet that it wasn't very long. Um, and I would say it was probably around, before Arceus released, a little after, during, around that time. And so like I think they did it, they did it to rush it out for the window, the release window. That was it. Because otherwise, yeah, I mean, it doesn't really fit the Nintendo stamp of quality approval. You know what I mean? So it's just some asshole in a suit again, right? Just saying, "Hey, man, we're pushing this out. I know it looks like garbage, but gotta make that sweet pokey dollars." You know what I mean? Gotta buy those Ultra Balls.
Fuck deadlines and crunch time.
I was about to say, yeah, I agree with Brennan. Just the Nintendo stamp of approval thing. Like, where the hell was Nintendo for this shit? When it
Yeah.
comes to their big games like this, they babysit that thing and they make sure it's good. So for it to be performing this way, I really do wonder, like, where the hell was Nintendo the whole time?
Apparently too busy doing other things and not paying attention because they have too much money to care. Let's kick it over to the games coming out in November and get this rolling a little bit. So now we're going to talk about a very interesting game. It's called Marvel's Midnight Suns. It's a single player tactical role playing game. It's developed by Firaxis Games in collaboration with Marvel Games and published by 2K, which is a name that I swear I haven't heard in a while. It's coming out on literally everything besides mobile and Apple. So that's Nintendo Switch, PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and then Series X and S on December 2nd.
Um, yeah, I've been kind of keeping an eye on this game. It looks like XCOM with Marvel. I
Yeah.
think I think Fire Access did XCOM. Um, and so I've been watching this. I'm just like, I like XCOM. I like Marvel. Huh? Maybe I should keep an eye on this. Um, so it looks like a very interesting game. The new suits are cool. I like Spider-Man suit. And it actually has a very interesting combat system where you have a deck of cards and you draw cards that have actions on them. And you're able to use those actions on that they let you do powerful attacks. You can heal your teammates. It all just depends on how you draw. Um, I love card games, so that's perfect for me too. So this game is kind of, from what I'm seeing, it's kind of a mishmash of things I love. Um, do I think it's going to perform well, or not perform, but receive well? I'm kind of on the fence about that.
Um,
I just think this looks, it looks okay. Like, I don't see this being like a heavy hitter. Um, Especially because like I feel like uh, XCOM is big. Don't get me wrong. I think the tactical RPGs definitely have a solid foothold in the market at the moment, especially with kind of like sleeper hits like Mario Rabbids, stuff like that, where it's you wouldn't even really think that those are good tactical games, but they're actually pretty good. Um, but all of that being said, though, I still just I don't see this being like the new XCOM. You know what I mean? I don't. This looks like this reminds me of that XCOM like side game that they made, like the Phoenix Point or whatever. But then this also kind of looks slightly worse. Um, with like I don't even know. I was watching some 40-minute like game overview, and I don't. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know what's going on here. There's a lot going on, and I don't think it's gonna be amazing. I think it'll be probably okay, and I'm just gonna guess it's gonna be okay. That's it.
Watch it.
Ah,
Watch you get like a score of 98.
oh my god.
I can't.
It would have to do something like fucking absolutely balls to the wall fantastic. Um, I honestly, I played Mario and Rabbids, and I really, really enjoyed it. Will I be playing this? Absolutely not. And here's why. Uh, it's Marvel. And I have nothing. Now, don't get me wrong before you come at me. I have nothing wrong against Marvel, but I am so superheroed out. They literally have like a superhero game in every fucking genre, and I'm literally just like, when will you people stop?
When they stop seeing the movies.
I'm just, it's not even that. It just didn't need to be made. Like that's where I am with all these Marvel games coming out. It's everything feels like a cash grab to me just because ooh, Marvel sells right now. Let's do a Marvel game. And it's annoying because I don't care. But money is literally all I have to say. I think this will do I'm going to say it's going to probably do in the range of Harvestella if not a little bit worse. It's going to be right around that 50 to 60 range. If it gets anywhere close to a 70, I literally might give up.
I remember he said that.
Go ahead. I will let somebody else host. But I don't think it's going to do very well. I don't have high hopes for it. I'm so over the Marvel franchise as a whole because there's just so much going on. No. Anyway, we're going to move on to something that is actually interesting and slightly a little scary. It's the Callisto Protocol. It's a single player survival horror game. It's developed by Striking Distance Studios and published by Krafton. It's coming out on PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Series X and S the same day as Midnight Suns. So you're sitting here like, damn, guys, what should I buy? Do not buy the Marvel game. Cry to your mother at 3 a.m. because you're scared, because you're up playing Callisto Protocol when you should technically be sleeping.
I'm just gonna get it out there. This is fucking Dead Space, man.
Yeah, it's made by. It's directed by Glenn Schofield, who previously co-created the Dead Space series. So that's why
Okay.
this is Dead Space.
Yeah, I was watching I've been watching the trailers, and like I watched one 3 months ago, and I was just like, this is fucking Dead Space, man. Like, holy shit.
So, just really quick, I don't know. I found this while reading the wiki page, and I think that this is interesting. The origins of the Callisto Protocol began with the formation of Striking Distance as a studio within PUBG Corporation, now PUBG Studios, in 2019, helmed by Glenn Schofield, who had previously created Dead Space at Visceral Games. The studio was created to expand the PUBG Battlegrounds universe by creating a narrative-driven game. Schofield said that when he first met with PUBG Corp, they had explained their goal to expand the PUBG narrative. He had already had the concept for the Callisto Protocol in mind and presented that to them and worked with them to fit his idea into their universe. However, He later stated that the game had grown to be its own story and no longer connected to PUBG. So this game was originally supposed to be a PUBG narrative-driven game, and then it wasn't. And if that's not the weirdest goddamn thing ever, I don't know what is.
No, that's wild, bro. Like, I'm sitting here trying to like process that. How the hell was this PUBG content?
Yeah, like I don't get
Right?
any sort of PUBG vibe from this at all.
I'm gonna double check this source. Yeah, PC Games. Former COD exec joins PUBG developer to make narrative games beyond battle royale. Christmas, big Christmas
So
lights, dude. That is hilarious.
it very much seems like that studio wanted a narrative driven game in general, but that this just didn't fit anywhere with what they wanted. And he's like, that's okay. I'll take this and go elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean it's just odd. Like I can't even begin to imagine what a narrative-driven PUBG game looks like. It just seems that you know he kind of like had this game idea. He pitched it to these people, and they're like, "Hey, we kind of want it like this." And he's like, "No, I think we'll work with that quote," and then probably never ended up working anything into it, and then just continued to make his own thing. Because I think that's a lot funnier.
I I look at this game and I honestly I'm very excited to watch somebody play it because it looks really fucking cool. And I think we haven't had like a super interesting horror game in a hot second. I mean, we had the creepy one that came out a couple months ago. Shit, I forget it already.
We did have a Fatal Frame recently.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that too. Well, we had those games, but like this one, there's not a lot out there about it, and it just looks so cool. I want a third person horror game that freaks me out, that I will never play, but I will be very scared while I watch it.
Same. I love horror genre in general, horror movies, horror games, horror podcasts, horror music. But you know, so this is kind of right up my alley. I know I said I'm holding out hope for Midnight Suns, but this is kind of the one. Uh, maybe early next year instead of getting the Dead Space remake, I might get this, especially especially if it was a PUBG, thing.
I think what's also pretty cool is that there's a this takes place on Jupiter's moon, and there's a maximum security penitentiary on the fucking this fucking moon. Like, bro, what type of world is it set in? Like, what is going on? I'm excited.
It seems really cool, honestly. Like, I don't know. It just seems like the next Dead Space.
Which I'm fine with. I love Dead Space, so good horror to me is good horror.
I want aliens. I want aliens. And scary things. Anyway, um, it's not even. They should release this in October. But I get it. Push it out, end of the year, holiday season. Love all that stuff. Now, if you're sitting here going, guys, that's great. But I don't want a big game to play. I want something small. I want something indie. Well, I got a game for you. And it's really interesting. It's very interesting. It's called Blacktail. It's an action adventure game. It's single player. It's developed by The Parasite and published by Focus Entertainment. It's coming out on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series S and X, so next gen console only on December 15th. If I remember correctly, this is basically a retelling of the Baba Yaga's origin story and how that came to be. So you live out a first person adventure that uses archery in a very like fairy tale esque world. And I think it's very, I think it's like a, I think you get to pick your choices in it. But on the website, it says you play as Yaga, a 16-year-old girl accused of witchcraft and expelled from an early medieval Slavic settlement. With living memories of her past return as foul, walking spirits, Yaga is faced with no other option than hunt them down in hopes of unraveling her own mystery. So I mean that's pretty cool. The we got I don't oh my god, what is that thing? There was a game that was very much like Doki Doki Literature Club, but with food.
I know which one you're talking about.
I
I
don't
remember
remember what
watching the
it's called.
I remember watching the game theory episodes about it.
Yeah, because I honestly forget what it's called. I think they have like something called the kitchenettes or something in there. Um, but that game talks about the Baba Yaga. So I think this is really interesting. I think this is going to be super cool. Archery in games, I think it's very unique. You get to God of War has it. I don't really see it in a lot of other games. I mean, Horizon, uh, Zero Dawn, and Forbidden West have it. So it's great to see that coming to a game like this. Also using somebody so young. Um, I just think it's really cool. It looks super neat.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of like folklore and mythology from a lot of different cultures and stuff like that. Yes, I'm a geek. Leave me alone. So the story of the Baba Yaga, that's pretty interesting to me. And I was watching this and I was like, huh, that's pretty cool the way they're putting, throwing stuff like that into this. And like you said, the it's got that fairy tale askew thing that I thought was really interesting. The colors and the world are really eye catching. Um, so this is kind of like when you put this on our list of games to talk about this month. I was like, what the hell is this shit? Like I've never even heard of this. Like what the hell is this? But after watching the trailer, I was like, oh, this could be something.
Anything to add, Brennan?
Uh, I'm not really. You guys pretty much covered what I was gonna say. I don't really have anything to add other than like it just looks. It looks and sounds interesting based off of the whole retelling of the myth of Baba Yaga and having the choice between it was like a good witch, bad witch. I don't know. I think being able to shape the fable that you're retelling is an interesting narrative direction to go with, and it also just like there's something about the art style, or maybe just how the game is framed. Maybe it's the camera, but there's something just slightly off-putting about how this game looks. Maybe it's just like the field of view, or there's something going on with this camera that is like oddly off-putting, but like not in a bad way. You know what I mean? Like it. I don't know how to explain it.
I'm wondering if it has to do with being that you're seeing the game through somebody so young. Like if
Maybe.
that has something to do with it, because like it her origin story is that like she was like cast out of her village by herself, so it's like you traversing the world as somebody who's 16 years old and not really having any sort of guidance and just being on your own. I feel like we will also get more once the game's released.
Yeah, yeah, probably. I don't know. I think that I feel like this will ultimately end up being either like a very niche, if anything. I feel like mainstream appeal isn't. It's not going to get mainstream appeal, but it's going to get a couple of diehard people that really like it.
I can definitely agree with that. I feel like this is just the subject matter alone. I would have never thought of basing a video game around it, but I like that. I like the way that they're taking you play as Yaga and you shape your own story to be what you want it to be and be remembered how you want to be remembered. So I think that's really interesting. I hope it does well. I hope that it gains a lot of popularity, but I think that they are releasing it at the wrong time of year because I think it will be overshadowed by everything else that is out or is coming out. Like, I don't think the end of the year is a great time for indie games because I feel like everyone sort of jam packs those big AAA releases towards the end of the year for game awards, and they unfortunately just get overshadowed.
Yeah, especially considering they got Modern Warfare and God of War, and what else is coming? There's like a lot of other things. Callisto Protocol. I agree with you. This is kind of not a good time. There's a reason a lot of developers are waiting till next year to release their games. So I think this is gonna be one of those ones people aren't gonna really notice it until it goes like on sale or some shit. Unless it does ridiculously well review wise, and everybody's like, "Oh wow, this game out of nowhere." It's an indie game, so it's probably not going to be $60. I got a few bucks. Let me try it out. Um, but yeah, it's this isn't the time of the year for that.
I've
Mm.
definitely said this before, but I think this year was the year that everybody released their games that they sat on from over COVID. And it was definitely a big year. I mean, we're going to do a recap in December, so I'm not going to get too big into this, but everybody's releasing those games that they were sitting on. If they haven't already, like this year was definitely a big year, especially for next gen consoles. You saw games coming out exclusively on next gen, um, and we're slowly phasing away putting out games on PS4 and Xbox Series or Xbox One. So I think next year you're going to see a lot more of that. You're going to see bigger titles coming out, finally releasing. Everyone's getting back into the normal cycle post COVID, and everybody's recovering, and you're just going to slowly see the phasing out of past gen consoles. So I feel like years to come, we definitely have a lot of games that we're going to be rocked by. So, but that is it for the end of this episode of the pre-review crew for November and December 2022. I'm going to kick it back over to the guys for any final thoughts about what we said today.
Stay in drugs. Don't to school.
We didn't talk about that.
Oh, oops.
God damn it.
Don't go to school. Play video games.
Oh my god. And this is why we're eventually going to get kicked off of YouTube. Everyone play God of War Ragnarok, and if you don't vote for it for Game of the Year, I'm sorry, but we can't be friends anymore. Anyway, that is it for the end of this episode. Thank you for joining us. I hope you're having a great day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. And we will see you back here next month for our end of the year wrap up. Ow, 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 ow. join us again for that, and we will do a special recap of all the games that we talked about over the past year and rehash some previous ones that we talked about and see how they've been. So, we will see you next time. Good night.
Bye bye.
I love you.
Don't lie to the people.